Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Dating Alchemy with me, Jen Youngquist, where I talk about all things dating and relationships, especially with a slant on the spiritual. So, this is episode 7, titled So You Want to Give Up on Dating? Then You Should. In this episode, I want to talk to those of you who may be at the point where you're just over it. You're so ready to quit dating. Perhaps, you're just tired of meeting the wrong people over and over and over again. You're tired of your heart getting broken, and having to constantly heal, or you're just tired of all of the fuckery that goes on with dating. And man, I remember those days, and I felt that way as well. It's tough. It's tough. You might even be feeling some shame in wanting to give up. Or maybe you just feel downright sad that you'd be giving up on something that you really want, which is that highly connected, supportive, loving relationship, right? You want to share your life with someone, you want to do life with someone. And, maybe you're feeling like this is the end of the dream. Or maybe you're wanting to quit because it feels like you have more control over this situation, right? Whenever you want to remove yourself from a situation, it makes you feel like you have more control over it. But I'm gonna talk about all of this today. So stick around, okay? We're gonna address the whole kit and caboodle. So there's a Japanese saying that says if you get on the wrong train, get off at the nearest station. The longer it takes you to get off, the more expensive the return trip will be. So the Japanese are very practical, very pragmatic here, aren't they? And dating it's the same way. All right. If you're finding that you're getting the same results over and over again, you're staying on the wrong train, right? You're committing yourself to riding that wrong train, which is only going to take you further away from where you want to be, right? Which is that consciously coupled relationship, right? This relationship that you have always wanted. But if you stay committed to, I'm just gonna try and I'm just gonna keep at it no matter how long it takes, that's noble. Um, but there is a reason why what you're doing isn't working. Okay. And so, therefore, I would offer you, yes, do take a break from dating. Okay. So if you've been stuck in this pattern, you're meeting Mr. Wrong over and over and over again, just a different body, right? The relationships turn out pretty much the same. Yes, you will need to take a break from dating because you're going to have to do something different to get a different result. You're going to have to get off at the next station and try a different train to see if that's going to take you where it is you want to go. But don't give up on the dream overall, okay? And I think this is a big distinction that needs to be made. You can halt dating for a little bit without giving up on your overall dream. Okay? I hope that makes sense. Whenever humans start to get into their fear and their worry, we start this whole black and white kind of thinking, all or nothing, right? And we do that because it's really hard to see any other way forward. It's really hard to see a different path whenever you're so stuck down in those weeds, right? We can't take that moment to step back and really look at what's going on. So sometimes it does take someone else to kind of guide us through that process and hold our hopes and dreams, hold that vision for us until we can be lifted up out of that to be able to see the next steps and a different path forward. So, yes, take that break, but don't give up on your dream or your vision. And if that you feel like you're ready, you're wanting to do that, then find yourself someone that can help you hold that dream. Okay? Because I'm here to tell you, you don't have to give up on it. Anything that you want in life can be yours. That is a fact. Okay? I know it doesn't feel real, it doesn't feel true right now. My 30-year-old self, if someone would have told me that, I probably would feel like that's a load of bullshit. Okay. Um, but this version of me has seen enough of me creating my own results by taking different steps, that I know now that it's completely true. Okay. So you can take a break, figure out what's going on, and to give yourself a chance to heal and rest without completely giving up. All right. And in fact, I would call this self-care at its finest. And I know for a lot of you, that's a loaded word, self-care, right? It can invoke feelings of shame, selfishness. Maybe it makes you feel weak or powerless. And, honestly, that's what our current patriarchal culture needs you to believe. Because if we actually took a minute for ourselves to heal, to rest, recover, we'd honestly stop doing some of the things that our culture relies on us to do to keep it going at its current pace. I mean, if people weren't willing to overwork, there would be a lot of where would some of these corporations be right now? Right? Why do you think they encourage people to not have a real life outside of work? So they need us to feel guilty about taking a break. They need us to not address the underlying feelings of worthlessness that drive overworking because it benefits them, right? Because when we heal ourselves, we heal the world. And capitalism relies on an unhealed world. Oligarchs rely on an unhealed world. The rich get richer, right? Whenever we're willing, the common person is willing to be squeezed and to give and give and give. All right. This is the message that we're going to hear. This is the message that gets drilled into our heads. And it applies to men too, not just the ladies. And, the boomers, they're the most brainwashed generation on this planet as far as that. And the overworking and the commitment and giving all of yourself kind of stuff. And they're the ones that are voting. They're the ones that are still, for the most part, in charge. So it's still the message that's getting delivered to all of us that it's selfish for us to take time for ourselves and to heal and to nourish ourselves. And I am here to challenge that notion for myself and for all of us because it's It's total bullshit. You can't give from an empty cup. And my friends, a lot of the reason that your relationships aren't working out is because you're not taking care of yourself first. You're not putting yourself first. That's one of the number one things that I see in my clients is those that are not willing to take care of themselves first and all of the shit that that brings up with it is a huge reason why they keep finding people who won't put them first. They keep finding people that won't meet their needs and aren't willing to. They find the selfish people. Okay? So it starts with you. You are the key to shifting your own reality. You really are. And when you can take that time to really go inward, to do the healing that you need to do, to connect with yourself, then your relationships are going to see the benefits of that. Your relationships are going to be different. They're going to be transformed. Okay. That's, I've seen it happen over and over again, not just in my own life, but in the lives of people around me. Okay. All right. So give yourself permission to step back, regroup, get support, and start again when you're ready. And like I said, it's because if you don't, you're just going to continue on the same pattern. It's the same energy. And when you come at a problem with the same energy that you created it with, it doesn't ever get solved. Okay. So let's, well, here's the other thing I want to say about that. If you can take yourself out of the game for a little bit and do that healing work, you're going to be saving yourself a lot more pain down in the future. Okay? Because if you're going to keep bringing the same energy to relationships, you're going to keep getting the same results and you're going to keep getting hurt over and over again. So when you take the time to do the work outside of the relationships and you can kind of start with fresh, different energy, you're going to get a new set of results. Now, I'm not saying those results might not be painful, they could, but that's just more information for you to take in and go, oh, well, that didn't work. Why did this happen? Oh, it's because of this energetic pattern. I'm going to shift this and then try again and see what happens. And unfortunately, that's just the way that things work. But the more that you can take the time to do that work, the less pain overall that you're going to experience. Okay. I'm telling you, if you're finding relationships and dating to be really hard, um, that is a signal that you need to change something. And part of it might be that you're believing that the problem is everyone else and it's not really you. Okay, so it's all these other people that you keep finding, right? There's no good ones left, right? How often have you thought that? Like there's no hope for you if you're over 40 because there's no good ones left. All the good ones are taken, right? My friends, that's simply not true. It's not true. I believed that at one point too. But what I'm trying to tell you is if you keep believing that it's everybody else, what does that do to your own power? Right? You're giving your power to everyone else, to outside influence. rather than sourcing your power from within. Do you really think that source or God or the universe has created you to be powerless? No, no. The moment you realize that your true power lies within your internal world, that's the moment your life is going to fucking change. It's going to just completely change and be different. So, dare to believe that you have the power. All right. On that note, let's take a look at wanting to quit dating because it makes you feel more in control of the situation. It's to me, this is it's a false empowerment, right? Because you're basically saying, I'm not winning, so I'm going to take my marbles and I'm going home. I'm going to cut my losses. And it makes you feel like you're in control of the amount of pain that you're going to subject yourself to, which on one hand is a good thing. You definitely want to do the self-care, right? But like you're on the right track, but you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Let's get something straight here. Safety is an illusion. There is no safety in the world, honestly, except for what we choose to believe is safe. And we believe it until we don't, right? So if you've never had a break-in at your house, then you're going to feel like your place of residence is pretty safe, right? But ask anyone who's ever had that violated, they never truly feel safe in their house anymore, right? That has just been completely shattered. And unfortunately, that's always a risk. It's always something that can happen, right? So control is just another way that we humans seek safety. So if you're feeling like you don't have any control over your dating life or that there isn't any safety in it, I want to offer you this. There is no safety or control outside of yourself. There isn't. So if you're looking for it out in the world, you're not going to find it. You're going to be let down eventually. So instead of quitting dating and swearing off of relationships out of frustration or a growing sense of having no control, then I invite you to look at it from another perspective. Yes, do take that break from dating, but do it from that perspective that I talked about of figuring out why things are happening the way they are and figure out what you can change and shift that will create different results for you. Okay, so that is where your control is going to come from, is figuring out what you can do differently, right? And as far as safety, that also comes from within. Creating safety from within means you adjust your mindset around failure and loss, right? Rejection. Most times when we fail or we're rejected, that triggers all sorts of judgments about yourself. And you start to beat yourself up and make yourself wrong. And, you start to feel like there's something wrong with you. And friends, I'm going to be honest, that's the most painful thing around failure and rejection is when you feel like you are the failure and that you are rejected because there's something wrong with you. I used to feel that way all the time. I took these rejections personally, personally, and it made breakups way more painful than they had to be. Okay. So, we need to be able to bring in that compassion when things don't go the way that we want them to. That's key. Because if you can't be gentle with yourself, then you can't expect anyone else to be, right? And here's another thing to remember about failure. And this is according to the Kabbalion. If you have never heard of the Kabbalion, it is a group, or it's a book on the seven spiritual laws or principles, as written by Herme Trismegistus. Okay. If you want to know more about it, I do talk about it in episode two, three, and maybe four, where um, I really go through what manifesting is and how to do it. So if you want to look it up, it's spelled Kybalion, and it's by the three initiates. So there isn't even really an author attributed to it. But according to the Kabbalion, every truth is a half truth. And you're probably like, what the fuck does that mean? Well, it took me a minute to get it as well. But in my interpretation, what this means is that, let's say an event happens. I'm going to have my interpretation of that event and what it means, and that comes through my learning, my experiences, right? Those are all going to shade my interpretation of that event, right? Someone else can look at that same event and see something completely different. And neither of us is wrong. Okay? Neither of us is wrong. Let that sink in, especially in light of the current political climate here in the United States. Okay? Everybody's looking at the same events from different angles and different experiences. And none of us are wrong. All right? None of us are wrong. The only time it's wrong is when we start to take action that inhibits someone else or hurts someone else. Okay? That is wrong. But an interpretation of an event is not wrong. So, what that means for you in dating is the more rooted you are in your own feelings and intuition and inner knowing, the less it will matter to you what other people think or do. Because there is nothing you can do to control that. There is nothing you can do to fix that. The only thing you can do is know your own truth and believe it. So doing the inner work to be connected to your internal truth is the only way you can truly have any safety in this world. When you stop giving a fuck about what other people think about you, when you know that other people think and take action based on their own inner truth, inner knowing, sometimes it comes from their inner trauma, right? And none of that has anything to do with you at all. You're simply the trigger. then when relationships fail, they're not so devastating. Okay? Yes, relationships have an inherent risk, but if you don't take it as a personal failure or that there's something wrong with you because it failed, then you can simply grieve the loss, learn the lesson, and move on without getting stuck. I'm not saying it's not a shitty process, and it's definitely not something you want to do all the time, right? I get that, which is why taking that step back after every relationship failure and trying to understand exactly what happened and understand your part in it. Like, I'm not saying that, don't look at your part, right? Or that it's always someone else's fault. It's always both people's fault, even infidelity, right? Oh, he cheated on me or she cheated on me. Okay. But what happened to cause that, right? There's always a portion of the failure that you can own, right? Even insurance companies know this. Like, there's no such thing as one person being at complete fault for an accident. Both parties are always assigned a percentage of the fault in an accident. Even if you were sitting still and the person hit you, you're still assigned a portion of the fault in that accident because it always takes two people to have an accident. It takes two people to have a relationship. Okay? The more we can learn from our relationships and look inside for a new version of truth around it, what can we learn? Like, okay, maybe I did overgive in this relationship. What can I do to maybe put a little bit more in place, around boundaries? And then maybe the next relationship will be a little bit different. Well, it will be different because you'll have boundaries. You won't let people take advantage of you, right? It's a learning process, my friends. It is. Okay, so if you are someone who would like to get some support around figuring out what to shift energetically, maybe you're just like, man, I would love to be able to take some different action, but I really just don't understand what's going on in my relationships. Or if you're someone who wants support around creating more of that internal safety, or maybe you want support around getting out of your comfort zone to create the life that you dream of, then I want to invite you to book a dating assessment call with me because these are all the things that I help my clients do. I especially love to help people figure out the energy of their relationships. What is energetically going on? And I help them to shift that. Okay, so on the dating assessment call, we'll spend an hour together talking about what's been going on for you. And I'm going to be able to tell you on the call, like what is happening and what some of the things that you would need to start to address in order to get different results in your life. And then if you feel like it's work you want to pursue, then we can talk about working together in my 16-week private container and what all that entails and looks like. And if you don't, that is fine too. There's never any obligation to work with me. You can take the information and work with someone else. It's totally fine. But I want you to know what's going on in your relationships and what you can do to shift that. So, if support is something you have on your 2025 list for the year to do, go to my website, jenyoungquist.com. That's JENYOUNGQUIST.com. And scroll down, you're going to see the button to claim your free dating assessment. Go ahead and click that. Schedule your time with me, and we'll sit down together and figure it out. All right, my friends, I hope this was helpful. If it was, please give me a like. Anything in the comments, I'm happy to address. Just let me know. All right, take care. I'll see you next week.